Alright, so welcome to Chapter 11. This is a breather map, intended to let you catch your breath after Unhappy Reunion and train some of your weaker units. Going over my deployment slots, Corrin's a forced deployment and she's getting started on marrying Baruka. Azura's obviously here, as is Camilla, just as a stopgap in case I need her. Spoilers, I will. Mozu, Effie, Odin, and Niles are the 4 other regulars I have who are currently paired up, though Odin and Niles will both get new support partners in the next video. Elise spent most of Chapter 10 as a backpack, and this is her best opportunity to catch up in both level and weapon rank. Jacob's my only healer, and Haitaka takes up my last deployment slot just for rally defense. Given that the safest tactic on this map is to dip in and out of each room, I consider this map to be the best place in the game to deploy him as a rally bot. Speaking of that tactic, I should probably address the title of this video. In an Ironman, mistakes are permanent. There's no reloading saves, all deaths stick, and letting Corrin die would mean I'd have to start the challenge over. My mindset in every map I play, therefore, is to avoid taking risks. Since this map has no time pressure, I'm not even losing anything by playing this map as slow as I am. With that said, it does make for pretty boring content, so I'll check out for now. If you want to watch the footage at full speed, just slow the video down. I'll be back once we get to Kaze's room, that's where things get interesting. The interesting thing about Kaze's room is that the threshold that doubled the ninjas is so high that I had to give Niles Mozu's backpack and Inspiring Song. Those ninjas happen to have lunge, so if I wanted to chip away at the formation on enemy phase, I needed the unit in question to be able to double and kill them. Niles, thankfully, had enough power, though Lily's poise will be needed. There's another outlaw that doesn't actually need a speed pair up to pull this off, but I've already discussed my Heart Seal allocation. Now, the Central Room. I certainly don't want to deal with the Lunge Samurai and the Life and Death Samurai at the same time, so I decide that now is the best time for me to use the first charges of the Freeze Staff that came in Elise's inventory. As for the unit thinning out the forces, it's Camilla. What else is there to say? For my second venture into the Abyss, Niles steps up. He can one-round the ninja now that Camilla's done at least 1 damage to him. I still want to clear out a few more enemies before I make my advance, so Camilla does that. Odin starts my final push by equipping Nosferatu and waiting. Everyone else will charge in and finish off the remaining samurai over the next few turns. It's finally time to take on Azama's room. Everyone here is Miracle, and Azama has a hexing rod. Let's rock. Frankly, Azama's room is something I've never solved. I blame myself for what you're about to see. So that was a bit of a heart attack. I have lost units here before, but never Mozu. With that said, the map's over. Once I take out Azama, I'll be spending the next 20 minutes grinding weapon rank out of Hinoka's guards. Enjoy! And that's C-rank axes on Elise, the last bit of which was farmed entirely from dual strikes. Hell of a way to get her the rank for her best weapon, which I'm excited to show off. That's not until later though. And that's Rainbow Sage. I promised not every map's going to take quite this many turns, and in fact I believe there's only one map that took longer. I'm sure you can guess which one. The first step of any Chapter 12 clear is to put as many units in range of the defense surge as possible. 4 points goes a lot towards surviving all the attacks they'll need to take. Before I go into the 3 new units, let's return to the title of the video. I said that I'm going to avoid taking risks when possible. The thing is, that means something a bit different on maps with time pressure. In Chapter 12, doing anything besides rushing upward as fast as reasonably possible is a risk, and one with a low expected payoff. Get ready for some high-octane gameplay. And now, the new recruits. Kaze's back after a 6-chapter absence with 6 levels worth of stats. Given how much I fed him in Chapter 5, this makes him my most overleveled unit other than the promoted ones, so he won't be taking many kills on this map. His future husband has already joined though, and a husband that's already patching up his strength and could patch it up even more if I had any desire to reclass Kaze at all. Kaze always seems to end up in Paladin in optimized Fates runs, and I would have chosen that over Great Knight if I wanted a skill dip, but his final class would have still been Master Ninja. Quite unfortunately, though he'll be one of my best units throughout the mid-game, he'll end up as the 16th best unit on my team once the deployment limit hits 15. Perry will be benched after this map. Her character would have been interesting if it wasn't played for laughs, and that's all I'll say. As for Laszlo, he'll be stuck in backpack duty. He has good combat prospects as an early promoted Bow Knight or as a Soul Ninja, but I again want the experience to go elsewhere and definitely can't spare a Heart Seal. His own future husband won't be joining for a bit, so enjoy this legend while he's here. At least Perry can let me pull off my very first shelter sing of the run, to let me cover more distance and break a poison pot on the left wing, where I plan to squeeze my entire team through. The second pot in this wing hexes you, so I certainly won't be breaking it, instead shoving everyone through over the next few turns and eventually baiting Ryoma's retainers with Mozu. Mozu picks up the Flame Shuriken and prepares to engage Kagero. Odin and Niles will guard my back, as they're the only solution I have for the problem that's about to arrive. By the way, it's turn 6 and the apothecaries have already spawned. I want Niles to get experience anywhere he can, so he waits in range of only one apothecary. Meanwhile, Mozu finishes off Kagero. And now, we keep advancing. We've reached the halfway point, meaning I can actually afford to take things slightly slow. Kaze tries to chip a samurai, but lands a crit to take him out and grab the Kodachi, one of only 2 physical 1-2 ranged swords that I can get without my castle drops. After some finagling, Laszlo will take it for now to chip one of the remaining enemies over the wall. Kaze, in turn, moves away from the danger zone to grab the Armor Slayer, which will be quite important in the next chapter. Hey Odin, what are Perry's chances of killing anyone by the time the run's done?
Two?
Yes, that was another crit from Kaze. With the apothecaries cleared, Niles will spend the rest of the map taking on as many ninjas as he safely can. Topside, the next few turns will just be clearing out the few remaining enemies and getting ready to grab the second chest. Haruka clears the way for Kaze to pick up the gold reward. In a bit of high rolling, Camilla begins to take swings with a dual club at Ryoma. Well, it's the last turn. Korin needs to escape. Or does she? Camilla can't take out Ryoma with her next hit, but Kaze just so happens to have Guard Gauge on deck. Poison Strike would have put Ryoma in range even if he missed, but he hit. Azura refreshes Camilla. Mozu can clear the way for Korin even if this fails, so there's no risk in taking my shot. Go ahead, Camilla. Take the kill that you deserve. Chapter 13. A map where I often find my clears hanging on a razor's edge, a map where my supports come together cleanly, and the last map of this video. Let's begin. To go back to the title one final time, I mentioned earlier that, although these clears are improvised by definition, I do often choreograph my first turn, and this is probably the best example of that. The aggressive enemies on this map are by far the most dangerous, so I'll be taking them all out as quickly as possible. This starts by putting Korin in range of a knight with the Armor Slayer equipped, and with Camilla and Jacob providing their auras. The Diviners on the left will be handled by Kaze. Everyone else just waits. They'll have more to do soon. My squad finishes off the two remaining knights. Camilla, now given permission to run loose again, waits in range of an approaching Wyvern Rider, killing him on enemy phase and depositing his knight backpack on the opposite side of the river. This is a prelude to what's going to happen next turn. Camilla takes out a second Wyvern, dropping the knight on my side of the river this time. That's a problem made for the units conveniently placed next to her. Unfortunately for Camilla, I haven't given her the tonics to survive Reyna, but Azura can fix that. That's a third Wyvern down, more than I expected on this turn. I usually have to brace for impact from 2 Wyverns. 1 is no issue whatsoever. Even my bulk screwed Azura can take 1 hit with Benny's backpack. Alright, that's the hard part of the map over. While I engage Orochi Squad, I'll go over the units deployed on this map since there are a few conspicuous absences. Corrin's mandatory, and with her I'm bringing Baruka. Camilla's my best combat unit basically for the rest of the game, and her future wife just joined, Charlotte. I don't have the patience needed to fix Charlotte's hit rate, so she's gonna be on backpack duty until she gets the merit she's always wanted, and then she's getting benched. Shame, she's got my favorite crit quotes in the game. Jacob's my only healer, and with him I'm bringing Arthur. They're 2 maps away from getting married, and Arthur actually wants to start working on getting kills again. He's once again racing toward a specific level milestone, in this case, level 5. Mozu provides a ton of value against the Wyverns and Cavaliers, not to mention all 4 of the named enemies, and with her I'm bringing Effie, for what I hope should be obvious reasons. Kaze is my best mage killer forever, starting now, and with him I'm bringing Silas. The last 2 units I'm deploying are Azura and the other new rival, Benny. He won't have to wait long to be benched as it's happening after this map. He's got a lot of potential, but his main role as a physical wall will be usurped 1 chapter before he starts dominating certain maps. When it comes to the units I instantly bench, of which this is the last, I'd like to shout out what they can do if you choose to use them. As I've said, Selena can be a heavy hitter in the mid-game with an instant Bow Knight promotion, or she can pursue a support for Wyvern Rider, though that will take 2 more maps in Gay Fates. Perry's best way to escape mediocrity is almost certainly partner sealing to Wyvern Rider herself, which she actually does without gay marriage thanks to Xander. Benny can dominate chapters 17, 21, and especially 19 with the general promotion, or he can go Great Knight to be a more mobile wall that can choke points. Minus the sorcerer route, he's sadly the least flexible unit in Conquest. As for Nyx, someone else has already covered what she can do better than anyone else. Check out Coding Ant's channel. That is, once you're done subscribing to mine. Leave a like and a comment while you're at it. The most notable absence here is Elise, and that's entirely due to my efforts in Chapter 11. She's got C-rank axes, meaning that she'll gain a massive boost in power right after this chapter. You'll see how quickly she catches back up. The other missing pieces are Odin and Niles, both of whom would be a huge help here. Odin especially could easily Nosferatu tank the entirety of Takumi and Reina squads considering how blessed his stats are, but I decided to prioritize support ranks. As you'll see, I have another growth unit suited for anti-bow combat. As for Niles, I again just have a better bow unit. In fact, all 3 of these absences come down to that bow unit just being prioritized over any of them in terms of deployment slots. It's time to engage Reina Squad, and my unit of choice to shoulder the initial enemy phase will be Mozu, supported by Effie's A-rank pair bonuses, Gentium and Rose's Thorns. Just watch how little damage she takes on this enemy phase. I can afford to leave the Outlaw alone for 1 turn, so it's time for some cleanup duty. The priority here is killing as many Cavaliers as possible while keeping Azura in cover. With that outlaw killed, the pressure has finally been lifted. These inaccurate attacks with Arthur don't even risk that much. Mozu and Camilla could have easily won round the Cavs if he missed all 5 attacks. He'll do something similar against the Knights that Camilla forced to crash land and who are finally approaching. where Camilla could just do that. Not that huge of a loss, she's finally gaining XP from this after all. Looks like it's time for a sniper duel. Well, not quite since Mozu hasn't promoted yet, but same difference. Mozu's positioned at this specific spot to prevent Takumi from activating natural cover, and with all the support she's getting, along with her generally great stats at this point, she can easily take on Takumi. With Takumi's squad now aggressive, I decide to let Camilla chip Takumi down so Arthur can take a swing at him. Not gonna lie, I was not expecting that to actually work out, but I'm not complaining. I decide to let the Knights take a swing at me. Camilla takes one out on the counterattack, I give the second to Arthur, and the third goes to Baruka, who isn't looking too good right now. Now for the final enemies, Scarlet Squad and the reinforcements. This time, it's Corin who starts the party. Scarlet has Bowbreakers, so it's Camilla who chips her, using Thunder to do it. Corrin takes the kill with Yato. Everyone else clears at Scarlet's initial group and prepares to engage the reinforcements. Arthur gets C-rank axes out of it, which at the very least helps his hit rates. I usually tackle the wyverns first, but my army's actually closer to the cavaliers this time, so I just go with the flow. As this map and the video both end, I'd like to detail what my promotion philosophy was for this run, and it's simple. I promoted most of my team at level 17. This was a change I worked into this attempt on advice I got from VexJL, and I think the reason why it works comes down to something simple. Right about now is probably the best place to time the promotion bonuses. Chapter 14 isn't a difficult map by the standards of Conquest, and 15's even easier, but the two maps following it in this run are ones where I kinda wouldn't have stood a chance without the multiple leveled in promoted units I brought. The exceptions to this rule will be the child units, the two units I early promoted, and Corrin and Mozu. Corrin wants as many stats as possible and doesn't care about early access to promoted skills, so she's gonna wait until level 20. Mozu, meanwhile, is actively disinterested in gaining levels quickly for reasons I'll get into, so she's waiting until at least level 19. Next up, we reach the halfway point of Conquest, though certainly not the halfway point of this run, finally finish up our first support chains, and even start some new ones. Until then, bye guys.